Most of you are well aware of the internet phenomena Lackadaisy, which has been a webcomic running for several years before eventually coming out with an animated pilot, and now a teaser for Season 1. Today, we're going to talk about the show and talk to some of the minds behind the comic and series so fans know what to expect of the upcoming season and how they can support it. As like with most great animated series these days, Lackadaisy is an independent series that is being backed entirely by viewers. Stay tuned until the end to see how you can help. Now, after the pilot, which was listed as a short film upon its release, interest in a series was so high that a Season 1 teaser was put together as well as a crowdfund campaign that has already surpassed $1.5 million. But the more we invest now, the further the series can go. The animated pilot opened the same way as the webcomic, in both cases showing the character Rocky Rickaby getting into trouble because of his job picking up illegal booze for a speakeasy in the time of alcohol prohibition. Both tell different stories of different adventures Rocky is on to retrieve the booze on behalf of the speakeasy owner, Mitzi, but both capture the essence of the series perfectly in doing so. This basic formula allows for more dramatic and comedic stories to take place across the comic, and of course in the upcoming series too. The comic and the pilot both started with Rocky working for Mitzi, but the Season 1 teaser seemed to focus on the origins of Rocky. To figure out what the differences might be between the comic and the series proper, I asked the series creator of Lackadaisy, Tracy Butler, as well as director and producer of the animated short, Fable Siegel, and Spike Trotman, who helped put together the crowdfunding process for the pilot and the series.
Hi, I'm Tracy Butler. I started Lackadaisy as a webcomic back in 2006. I was working in the game industry at the time and needed some kind of creative outlet for the nighttime hours. And just got to making comics, and then grew a little bit obsessed with it, and it kind of took over my entire existence, and I left my day job in the game industry to do the comic full time. So we will be following more or less the arc of the first volume of Lackadaisy as a comic. However, we're going to approach it a bit differently. We're going to expand on a number of things. So there will be more backstory included than Volume 1 actually covered. So it's not a prequel. It really picks up pretty much where the comic picks up. But we'll be doing some things, changing it around a bit so that there's no info dump introduction or anything like that. We figure animation's a different medium. We're going to treat this like a different medium. So expanding upon character backstories, obviously we're going to have some music in there because it is a speakeasy with a jazz band after all, and there's just a lot of opportunity to grow the world a little bit and look into the backstories of the characters, which a lot of the comic does, but there's more that we can tell with that. And I think we can go a little further with it. So it is the same story but told in a different way.
Hey, my name is Fable Siegel. I'm a professional cat herder. Yeah, I've been in the animation industry for over a decade now. I've been dedicating my life to cartoons basically since I was a little kid, and cracked open the Making of Lion King book. And I love the movie, but learning about how the movie was made was even more fascinating. So I just got really, really into the process of making cartoons and decided to dedicate my life to that from a really early age.
Hi, I'm Spike. I'm the founder, owner, and editor for life of Iron Circus Comics. We are the largest comics publisher in the American Midwest, and we specialize in what I like to call the strange and amazing. And while I was behind my table at Kala, where I'd had this idea that this convention was actually going to be a wash, that's when Fable came over, and Fable was like, "Hey, hi, you're Spike, right?" And immediately dropped this unbelievable opportunity in my lap to work with Tracy Butler on animating Lackadaisy. And I immediately went for it like a feral animal and barely stopped myself from jumping over the table and latching onto Fable like some kind of remora. And I was like, yes, I want to do this.
Now, Lackadaisy already has a full animated pilot to prove they know what they're doing with making a series, but I wanted to ask what it was like working on that, and what they had to do to match the style of not just the comic, but the era that it was based off of.
When I started Lackadaisy as a comic, the reason I started it as a comic is because I couldn't figure out a way to do it as animation. I could have done short little animations just snippets of things, but I couldn't tell a long form story by myself in those like late night hours and wee hours of the mornings that I was working on it because I didn't have a crew of people. I didn't have the software available at the time. There was no crowdfund, like Kickstarter didn't even exist at that time. So there just wasn't any viable route for getting that done. So it was like, well, I still want to tell this very visually, so I guess, and I by myself, so I guess comics is the way to do it. And
dirty it up, make it all look like how stuff looked like back then, like even the way that 3D renders would be done on the guns and the cars and the props, because we figured it would be a lot easier to just make those 3D models rather than asking our animators to struggle with drawing.
Oh, we knew it would be easier.
Yeah.
We knew doing animation on twos for things that are complicated hard edge shapes like
Rigid,
those cars and the Tommy gun and things like that was going to make things impossible for the artist to deal with. So
every note would be fix the gun, so it was like, let's not do that. But that's actually taking advantage of something that they even did back then, where they actually did have physical models that they photographed and kind of stop motion animated at times.
Yeah, Cruella de Vil's car in 101 Dalmatians is a good example of
physical
that.
The antlers, the antlers.
The antlers even on Bambi, Bambi's father, the Prince of the Forest, they had a mechanic.
One of the things that I really love about Lackadaisy is the actual historicity, I believe is the word that Fable used, which it tries for accuracy, it strives for accuracy. And we apparently, I was not the person who initiated this, I'm just a person who's profoundly impressed by it. We contacted the Ford Heritage Museum.
In this case it was Cadillac who
Cadillac. It was the Cadillac schematics.
Cadillacs. Yeah. And that's why the cars look so on point, because they directed us to reference for the models that would have believably been used in the short. And I just sometimes just look at the short and pause it just so I can admire the cars, because they're so believable. And the reason is, it's because they're real.
Yeah.
Now, a big draw for a lot of our viewers was the inclusion of Michael Kovach, who most of you know as the original voice of Angel Dust from the Hazbin Hotel pilot, who here plays Rocky Rickaby. So I wanted to ask what the process of casting and working with him was like, as well as the other talented cast members.
Casting Michael Kovach was one of the first things that we did back when me and Tracy were just starting to kick around the idea that, well, maybe let's actually make this a pilot. And we were actually making the moves to get everything done. Around that time, I had contacted Spike. Spike was on board, so we were like, okay, I guess this is actually happening. And I had been an animator for Hazbin Hotel for a few shots, and I was, of course, familiar with Mike's work through that. And I really like some of the subtleties in his performance, where there's like little moments where he's not just being a wacky guy, he's actually like sighing or kind of being more thoughtful. And there were some small things in his performance that gave that character just like a lot more subtlety than I think than the just general surface level reading that you could assume based on how he initially starts out. And I really liked that. I figured that a guy who could do kind of like a fast talking character and keep up with that kind of rapid fire vocabulary, but also have this side that he can present through very subtle choices might be a good person to reach out to and just see like what his interest level was. But yeah, so the next character was Mordecai, but Tracy had a much clearer idea of like who Mordecai would sound like. You were just like, he sounds like Pro ZD. He did some dubs of the guy like years ago.
Yeah,
like,
Sungwon Cho had done early in his internet stardom, his career as a well-known comedian and voice actor online. He did some Lackadaisy dubs just for fun, and he did a lot of Mordecai voice, and he was just nailing it every time. A lot of other people have tried to do it and things, but they'd always give him a British accent or something, but Sungwon seemed to understand that that wasn't his background, and he was really just putting on this affectation of the deadpan seriousness, and so it was just like that was who came to mind immediately. But he was so big by then that we were like, oh, if we reach out to him, I don't think he's gonna respond even. But Fable did.
Meanwhile, I'm a moron, and I was just like, oh, I'll give it a listen, and I listened, and I was like, yeah, I'll reach out to Guy. emailed him, got him on board, and then only then did I realize, oh wait, this guy has like a lot of followers. I didn't even notice any of the numbers. I was like, yeah, that works. We're chosen very specifically for that character. Like, we were like, yep, that's them. That's that character. Like, Lisa just nailed Ivy right off the bat. Bell in his, subtle
ability to sound like a good-natured boy next door and also a maniac. Really.
Jason Marnoka and his voice that grates Parmesan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benny and Malcolm Ray, who are just like instant charisma. Like, you could believe they were brother and sister. Like, from the moment that they spoke to each other, they just clicked. So they were fantastic. Brad Gareth, who plays Wick, and is like how to sound really, really stuffy, but also hilarious at the same time. And then Valentine Stokes, who just does like that smoky ass voice, is just perfect. And then Ash Wagner, one of my best friends, who plays Mitzi, who she just feels that character so deeply that knowing that just somebody who has such a tragic background and enjoys the stage and hoping for something more and living a little bit outside of the norm. She gets the character in a way that I think a lot of other people might struggle with.
You can support Lackadaisy with its first season and anything else they have planned using the links in the description down below, with many rewards and merchandise available for backers. But I'll let Tracy and the others explain that from here.
So we are currently running a BackerKit campaign, and because we have decided to pursue producing Lackadaisy independently, we need funds to move forward with it. And so this is basically seed money to get season 1 off the ground. And we have so far funded 5 full episodes, basically all of season 1 that we had planned. And we are on our way to funding some animated shorts as well, because we actually exceeded our expectations, which is wonderful. But the campaign includes not just animation, but in return for the support, we have the Lackadaisy Volume 1 and 2 and Essentials art books available as tier rewards. We have a card game coming out. We have large enamel pin sets coming out, and plushes and numerous other things, digital download rewards and things like that on offer in return for the support. So if you have an interest in supporting indie animation, you want more adult animation out there, check it out.
Use those links down below to check out the crowdfunding campaign for Lackadaisy and see how you can support the show, and I'll see you guys next time.